am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. I bid farewell to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised. Welcome back to StillerBros at the Movies. Today we are covering a story of a hero going on a long oceanic journey, battling gods and monsters in order to save their home and family. Didn't we just cover that?
Yeah, it's a little different.
The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. So, 3 years ago, Christopher Nolan made the big movie of his career that won him his Oscars, made him Sir Christopher Nolan, and basically cemented him as one of those filmmakers that is basically name above the title.
And like most people who saw it, our heads were blown out of the back of our skulls and we had to watch a whole last Barbie movie just to get them back.
Yeah, Oppenheimer was a fantastic movie. It's a movie that, even though it occasionally will contain some comic booky silliness, does represent very much what's a good version of the seminal historical event movie should be told in.
And because of this, Christopher Nolan basically got any sort of opportunity to have a blank check written for him at any studio that he wanted.
And of course, after Universal became basically his new home after the debacle he had with Warner Brothers, Universal basically was like, what do you want to do? To which Christopher Nolan responded, I've got this great idea for an adaptation of The Odyssey.
And they were like, say less.
So The Odyssey is a classic Greek poem kindly attributed to an author known as Homer, who might not exist, might just be a bunch of guys.
It might have just been one big writer's room coming together.
Who even knows? This is ancient Greece we're talking about. The historical records are sparse at best. But this is a story that has long existed, and millions of people have read it over the course of centuries. Some people were forced to read it in school. We, for the unfortunate purposes of this video, have never read The Odyssey.
We have never read any kind of the abridged text, but we did see the SpongeBob movie, so we kind of feel like we got the gist of it.
So basically we know the main story beats of The Odyssey. We know who these characters are. We know basically beat for beat where this is going, what this is doing. Basically the only reason we're going to see this is the execution. Christopher Nolan doing The Odyssey is the kind of thing that would be like, okay, I know this story, but I kind of want to see what this guy does with it.
It's cultural osmosis. Even people who haven't read the book know this story pretty well. Part of that is that it's been parodied and homaged. It was the second book in the Percy Jackson series. It was an episode of Animaniacs. It was an episode of The Simpsons.
And now it's a Christopher Nolan movie. And it's the latest movie in which Christopher Nolan is basically saying, God, I hate working. Can I just go home to my kids? The latest after Interstellar and Inception.
Yeah.
And it's also the most recent movie in which Matt Damon needs to get rescued from something, because Matt Damon is playing the kinda sorta title role of Odysseus.
Help me go home.
But obviously Matt Damon can keep getting stuck in places because apparently it keeps making some pretty kick-ass movies.
But the important thing is that Matt Damon is not the only big celebrity that Christopher Nolan's name has allowed us to have. We've got the likes of Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Benny Safdie, Elliot Page, Lupita Nyong'o, Charlize Theron,
Zendaya, John Bernthal.
This is a stacked cast, the way that only a big Oscar-winning auteur director could assemble. And of course the cast is one of the big reasons this movie is controversial. I use air quotes because the controversy is nothing, and it's mostly fueled by a bunch of moron ideologues and, unfortunately, the richest, stupidest, and most influential man on earth. God, those should really be 3 separate people.
If you actually like him, do yourself a favor and get lobotomized. You probably need it.
But the important thing is that there are people freaking out because Elliot Page, a trans man, is playing not just any character, but a substantial character. He's not playing Achilles, as was long rumored. And then there's also the fact that Helen of Troy is played by Lupita Nyong'o, a black woman.
A black woman from Mexico, no less.
Yeah, but they don't know or care about that.
No, they don't. But still, she's a non-American black woman playing the most beautiful woman who ever lived, according to legend.
And the thing is, it's been dated before, it will continue to be stated, none of these people were real. The Odyssey did not happen. Odysseus is not real. Helen of Troy is not real. All of the people...
The fucking Trojan horse did not happen, people.
This has been a long-standing story. It didn't happen. It just did not happen. And the fact that we are having fits about this is just showing that horrible people are allowed to hijack conversations and make them about them and about this stupid thing that they believe.
Yeah.
And on top of everything else, I think they're kind of using the somewhat justifiable historical inaccuracy arguments, which are also just nitpicky bullcrap, as a way of justifying it, being like, no, I don't just hate it because black woman and trans man. I hate it because of the fact that that armor is historically inaccurate and looks 3D printed, or the fact that Tom Holland calls Matt Damon dad and not father.
My dad is coming home.
And it's like, he would have been speaking Greek, so he wouldn't have even been calling him father.
But also, by your logic, none of these actors would be in this movie because none of the actors in this movie are Greek.
Just relax. It's fiction. None of these people were real. This is the Little Mermaid crap all over again. It doesn't matter.
It was started by basically started by the same asshole.
So it doesn't matter. As long as the story is well told. And before you start your argument of, well, maybe Ryan Gosling should play Obama, maybe Ryan Gosling should play Black Panther, that makes a huge difference, because that is a huge part of who these people would be.
See, the thing about race swapping characters is typically the best way to do it is if it has no effect on the character or their story.
Or if it adds an extra dimension to the character or their story.
Like, you can't cast a white guy to play Black Panther, but you can have a mixed race MJ in Spider-Man.
Because it's like, it doesn't change the character at all, because, well, for one thing, the MCU version of MJ is a completely different character from the comic version, but we're getting too deep into that because that's next week.
That's next time, yeah.
As far as we can tell, race is never even a thing mentioned in the Odyssey or the Iliad because it doesn't matter. Got it? Anyway, along the way we've got all kinds of stuff that Christopher Nolan has been building up. Ludwig Göransson is once again doing the score like he did for Christopher Nolan's previous two movies. And Christopher Nolan is still on his kick of making movies with as much practical effects as possible, because according to the sources, again, they are using forced perspective for stuff like the Cyclopses and stuff like that, and using puppet and makeup effects for the scenes with Circe transforming Odysseus' crew into pigs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is yet another thing where Christopher Nolan, auteur filmmaker, is flexing his muscles as much as he can to be like, I have all the money being thrown at me, I'm gonna use it.
Yeah. Including the fact that this is his very first movie he has ever shot entirely with IMAX cameras.
And we are not seeing it on an IMAX screen.
No, IMAX theaters are not anywhere really near us where it's convenient.
We'd have to go out of our way to go to an IMAX theater, and we'd have to go even further out of our way to go to see an IMAX 70mm screening. So we're not going to be filling our Letterboxd punch cards tonight, or possibly at any point during this movie's theatrical run.
No. This is the beauty of living out in the boonies in Minnesota.
Yeah. But overall, The Odyssey looks fantastic. It looks like yet another movie where Christopher Nolan is about to build this huge fan base that he's already built spectacularly off the back of his Batman movies and everything like that. And yeah, this has been one of the movies that we have been most looking forward to this summer, and here it comes.
Yeah.
So, guess we'll see you after the jump. Yeah, that was everything you would expect when you hear Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
It is an epic in every single meaning of the word, in a way that only Christopher Nolan could deliver.
It's brutal, bloody, epic, intimate, just everything that you would expect from something like this, and we need to jump deeper into it. I really think that Matt Damon is selling the hell out of this. The fact that he has to carry so much of this movie and play so many different versions of the same character. The brave and powerful leader, the unsure but desperate father looking to come home, the sad beggar attempting to get his way in.
This may be Matt Damon's best performance ever.
Now, to say that, he might get overshadowed when other Oscar movies come out. But then again, Christopher Nolan has made movies that have won Oscars despite the long time between Oscar voting and the actual release.
But it's also the fact that every major name actor in this movie gets a moment to shine.
And it really is something to behold that there's moments.
Elliot Page gets a moment. John Bernthal gets a moment. Anne Hathaway gets a moment. Tom Holland gets like maybe 3 moments. John Leguizamo gets a moment.
It basically feels like Christopher Nolan was like, and now here's the time for Hamish Patel's speech. Here's Charlize Theron's speech. Just basically everybody gets a little bit of a monologue and they nail it.
Everybody gets a moment to shine, but it is front and center Matt Damon as Odysseus' movie.
And there's also just performances like Robert Pattinson basically playing against the usual rich guy archetype he plays, because instead of playing the overconfident rich guy who everybody loves, he's this sniveling little daddy's boy who's just looking to get his meal ticket.
Yeah. And he plays it brilliantly, of course.
Yeah, there's very much shades of Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator shining through every single time the camera cuts over to him.
Yeah.
And John Leguizamo as a blind mentor figure to Tom Holland just feels like he has this levity to him that you wouldn't expect from John Leguizamo.
Yeah, there's a weight to every single performance. Everyone is very, very, very almost against type, really.
Anne Hathaway in a Christopher Nolan movie, you know it's probably going to be good because she's in at least 3 of these things and doing amazing in all of them. Zendaya is really starting to get typecast as the more important guy in the movie's dream sequence, but
at the same time, Zendaya does something insane in this movie that I can't believe they were able to do, that they did. Just the way Nolan pulled off this kind of, I can't describe it without spoiling things, but just, it was beautiful almost.
And it's really great that the movie feels the need to create basically 2 plot lines between Matt Damon attempting to get home through hell or high water, quite literally, and Tom Holland attempting to find out what happened to his dad.
It's Christopher Nolan bringing his blockbuster sensibilities into a very classical and a very intelligent story.
Especially when you consider the thing to compare Christopher Nolan to in terms of cinematic relevance is, not to sound like I'm bad-mouthing this very popular director, but he's basically like the cinematic equivalent of Shake Shack. He's got higher quality ingredients, so it justifies the higher price tag, but in the end, these are still blockbusters. Christopher Nolan is still a blockbuster filmmaker. This is released in the middle of summer movie season and not in the middle of Oscar bait November, December.
No.
So it's very much a case of Christopher Nolan on some level has to know who he is. Otherwise he'd be making movies like Oppenheimer for the rest of his career. And here it's like, no, I'm gonna make blockbusters. They're giving me a lot of money. I'm gonna make the biggest, most epic blockbuster I can throw at them.
It's just insane, the scale and the level of detail that can go into every single one of these movies. The scene of them inside the Trojan horse is claustrophobic.
And that's the other thing. This movie does not glorify violence. It doesn't glorify war. It very much depicts the war is hell attitude as it should be. They depict war as something that is not glorified. This is not one glorious battle.
Aw, look at them, sleeping like little angels. Spare no one.
This is a movie that really tells the story of a man who sacrificed so much for this war that ultimately he just believes was wasted time. And not just wasted time, but wasted lives, bloodshed. And in the end, this is also a movie that depicts war as like this dirty, grimy thing. Just we fought hard at the whims of this one man, and this one man just basically led us to some of the worst days of our lives.
It kind of makes you wonder what would have happened if he had directed Troy like he was initially meant to see him do both sides of this war instead of just the one side of this war like he did here.
Though he did pull certain elements from Troy, like the scene of the god getting the head decapitated at the temple, though it was a different god, different temple in this particular version.
He also kept his version of the Trojan horse that he was going to do in his version of Troy before he eventually left the project and was replaced.
And it all just kind of comes together with Ludwig Göransson's amazing score that, as always, is a mixture of modern day music mixed with the classical. It's just, yeah, Göransson, as usual, is doing pretty well this year. Between this, The Mandalorian, and various other projects he will more than likely be doing.
Yeah.
And through it all, it's just this, yeah, it's a big epic. It's a worthy follow-up to Oppenheimer, and I can't wait to see what Christopher Nolan uses the goodwill from this to make next.
It's hard to say for sure because we could get something on the level of Tenet and Inception. We could get another massive blockbuster epic like this or Oppenheimer.
But in the end, it's all up to Christopher Nolan, modern day auteur.
Yeah.
So, yeah, The Odyssey is everything that you would expect from a Christopher Nolan movie. It's everything just from looking at the talent involved. And yeah, I'm really happy with what came out of it, and I hope to see what comes next.
Yeah.
So that's it for right now. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave in the comments what you may or may not have thought of The Odyssey, or even just like, what's your favorite Christopher Nolan movie? I don't know. And be sure to come back next time when, what's up, Danger? Bye.
Remember, just 'cause their heads are off, it don't mean they're dead.